Well,
I didn't know I was going to do that.
sit right here. I know. If I'd have told her how she was going to feel, she probably wouldn't have showed up. But I did call her and ask her. But do y'all love her? Oh, my goodness.
The whole thing is I've been really sick. But I want to tell you about my life when I was young. I was born on my mother's birthday. It was Mother's Day, and I was born. So anyway, I was a tiny little thing. And she had 2 nursemaids when I was born. And my daddy had gone to Gratz to get the doctor, and he didn't make it back in time, so I was born. So I had a sister, which was 13 months old when I was born. And Mom had 2 babies because the other one cried all the time when I was born. And the doctor told my mother, said, if you lay this baby down, she will die because she has to hear your heart. So Mom sat in a straight chair with the seat was kind of old and curved and a pillow at her back and helped me for almost 3 months in a chair and never laid down. So see, you never get over things like that when your mother tells you about your life. I don't want to take up too much time. I just wanted to tell everybody how much I love all of you. It's so hard. The reason I'm going to tell you this, I have a heart for people. I really do. And I joined church at Lockport Baptist Church. I was 8 years old, and we had this great revival, which the church was completely filled. And I was standing at the side because there was no seats. And my mom was in the seat right here. And some of the children went up front. And my mom said to me, well, honey, aren't you going to go up there too? And they're joining the church. I said, well, Mom, I'm not joining the church because the Lord just received me. He received me. And I tell you, the hardest thing in the world is if He receives you, sometimes He doesn't move when you want Him to move. It's just hard. So anyway, we weren't poor, but we had food and what we needed, because my daddy worked like a dog. And my mom had this sister. Her husband wouldn't work. And my father, this is where I got my upbringing, is from my dad. When he worked and got $1 a day, when they got paid at the end of the day, he would go to the grocery little store in Fallis, Kentucky. And when he bought a sack of flour or a pound of coffee or some sugar, whatever he got, this was his, and he got 2 of them and shared with the family that had 5 children like us. So anyway, it was kind of hard, but I look back on that, it was a teaching for me. Hardship is good for you. It really is. I'll go into this. I won't take up too much time. But as I said, I had to wait on the Lord. And I'll jump into 1973. I had raised my children, I won't say the night, I raised my children in the church at Lockport. And my older son, Russell Beverly, was out of college. He had 3 jobs that he could have taken, but he chose to stay with his brother because he knew that when he, needed him, he would be there. So anyway, he was coming from work on his way home. And they had just finished the road up at 421 bypass. And all the people that was working was off somewhere celebrating. And he was in a line of traffic, and the crane come over and killed him instantly. I think a member of your family was behind him. And some lady, I went to the beauty shop, and she was talking and said, "Your name's Beverly?" And I said, "No, that's my last name." And she said, "Well, I was in front of a person that's name was Beverly." And she was the person, she broke in the beauty shop because she said she thought so much about that, how bad it was. But anyway, that was the story of my son. And this son here is living with me in the basement. I fixed it up really good for him. He has his own kitchen, his own bedroom, everything. Kind of stays a messy every once in a while. In fact, it is today. But it's that's okay. That's okay. But he's so good to me. He cooks every meal I have and carries it up to my kitchen for me. And I can't ask for more than that. But anyway, I'm going to go to this because I've taken up quite a bit of time. But anyway, I think I'll tell you this because I think it's going to help someone spiritually. I had been in my kitchen, and there's one step into where my house used to have a carport, and we decided when my husband got sick that we would enclose it and fix it nice a room to where he could see out through the windows. And of course he died with 2 strokes. But anyway, like I said, I'd fixed my coffee, and I had one step down to go into the room, and I saw this person walking down the yellow line down the road. And I said, "Well, what's someone walking down the middle of the road?" I said, "They're liable to get hurt." So I walked out the back door, and on the sidewalk where I could get to the blacktop, they were still coming. And I stood there for a moment, and I said, "Well, there's no cars past, and he surely is lucky." So anyway, I immediately walked out to my car in the front, and I saw this blonde hair. Not mine, because mine's artificial. But anyway, I saw this blonde hair and a figure of a face. It had on a tan suit. Seemed like he was awfully thin, whoever this person was. And I looked at him. I said, "Oh, that is Russell." See, we lost him in 1973. But when I got out to the road, I had my socks on, and I walked through the gravel, and it hurt my feet. So anyway, I went on out there, and he grabbed me and hugged me with his long arms. And it seemed strange that he was so thin, hardly anything there. But he got his arms around me and hugged me so tight. And evidently there was something behind him. I couldn't see it. But he was talking to someone. And whatever it was, I think it has to be, after I've thought about this so much, it had to be a spirit of someone that was with him from heaven, because he was kind of wondering why that he came so soon. And he said, I come to help. I think this spirit behind him thought that he left and didn't have a reason. But I didn't know. So anyway, after he hugged me so tight, I noticed he was carrying his jacket over his shoulder. And when he hugged me, it never did fall off. It just stayed there on his shoulder. And like I said, he was so thin. Russell was a good built, strong person. And when he said, I've come to help, I thought he was talking about this virus thing that's going around with people dying, so many people dying. I really thought that's what he was talking about. He came to help. So I just thought about him, and I cried a lot because I wished I could have gotten back out. But when I went out the door, he was gone. Got on my side of the blacktop, and he was gone. So anyway,
What year did your husband die, Miss Ida?
Jimmy, how long's he been gone? 1950? Oh, okay, hon. Yeah, I don't remember.
11 years.
2010.
2010.
What was, hon?
October.
Okay. But anyway, I try not to think of people dying because I've been with every person in my family. I've held their hands through dying. It's hard.
It is hard. And I wish, how many of you who have lost your mom wish yours was sitting right there this morning?
I've held 7 or 8 people that had died in my family, and I've held their hands.
Yeah. And what year were you baptized?
I didn't get baptized that day
You didn't that day?
because the Lord received me.
Yeah.
And I guess I was baptized in the Methodist church, and I wasn't baptized. I was sprinkled across the road because I never did that until I had met my husband and had my older son.
Yeah. And you taught Sunday school for how many years?
Until my children were older, and we went to another church in Pleasureville because that's where my mother-in-law and father-in-law had moved, and they wanted
but you
to
taught
visit.
for years.
Yes, I did. Yes.
And she's fixed dinners,
Yes.
cleaned the church, cooked the meals, clean up.
Annabelle, Beverly, and myself, she has gone to be with the Lord. But anyway, she and I cleaned the church after 2 floods. And that little thing got her little hand and a knife and get the mud out of it had wood around it was like having crevices in it. And
In Lockport, when the water would get up and would flood the church.
it's up to the second windows twice. And she and I were so close. Annabelle and, Hillis used to come here.
Yes.
And she was close because they lived on our farm for 3 years when the children were little. But anyway, she and I were really, really close. We talked about everything about the Lord. I mean, our lives was just like this. And so anyway, I guess it's about 2 weeks. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to see if someone had a question that they would like to ask you. Anybody have a question you'd like for Miss Ida to answer?
I'd like to know who your favorite pastor was.
You know what my son's question is?
What?
Now, the answer here is very important. But his question is, who was your favorite pastor?
You. Well, that's the truth. I mean,
Oh,
you
it
know, I
is.
tell the truth. And I've been in a lot of churches, and I was in Lockport Baptist, I was in the Methodist, I went to Pleasureville, and then after that, I came over here to Emless to another church out on your road where your farm
my
is.
mom was.
I was in,
Who's that younger?
pardon me?
Who's that younger preacher that was down in church when I was younger? You really liked them? They went on missionary.
I can't think, I know, and I hear from them quite often. I can't,
They were just okay, weren't they?
oh yeah, they were in Miss Beverly in Marvin's house every Sunday, you know,
Yeah.
to have a meal.
Oh.
So that's my father-in-law and mother-in-law. But anyway, I knew them well, and they were so good to us. But I can't, Jimmy, I can't think of the
Well,
name.
I blessed the day she came. I blessed the day you came
thank
here.
Thank you so much.
You know the first day you came, when you stepped through the door back there, do you remember what you said?
I said, this place is, the Holy Spirit is in this place. It almost knocked me down.
The first time she ever walked through those doors, and I was standing right there, and I didn't even know her then. She walked through those doors. I feel that right now, don't you?
I do.
And she looked
It's
at me,
hard for me.
not even knowing who I was, and she said, the Holy Spirit is in this place. It almost knocked me down. And it is. It is. It was then, and it still is.
It is. Yes, it is. I don't care if there's not a lot of people. The Lord is still here, and the
He's
Spirit
here.
is still here, because this is a beautiful, homey, and Spirit-filled.
Amen.
That's enough. But I wanted to tell you about going back to my thing in the road. I didn't know. 2 weeks later, I cried a lot over my son, but I was so thankful also. Just a precious time.
Yeah.
So anyway, 2 weeks later, I had been thinking well. And my grandson had lost his ear things just so he could listen to loud music or whatever. And he couldn't find them. So they were working at the back part of the house, way over. And I had this cane that I would take the dog out to go to the bathroom at the door. And I guess another week later, it's when I fell in my bedroom. And Jimmy and them called the ambulance. And I went to Shelbyville. And they immediately sent me to Louisville. I had double pneumonia. And found out later that the poison from the pneumonia, which I didn't even know I had, I never had a pain. I was walking around with pneumonia, doing what I wanted to do in and out of the yard, in the yard and in the house.
That's not been that's not been that long ago.
3 weeks.
She had double pneumonia.
3 weeks.
End of July. And then they diagnosed her with cancer. And how many days ago did she go back for the checkup? Last week she went back for the CAT scan. Nothing there. Nothing there.
I'm just so thankful. I'm just so thankful. Because while I was in the hospital, I got down to Louisville, and I don't remember even getting out of the ambulance. And I was there, started to doing stuff in my arm, maybe both, I think it was both arms. And later, they found out that from the problems in my lungs that it was infection that had gotten in my blood. And so the next morning that I was in the hospital, I didn't know this. The nurses were telling me they almost lost me.
I know.
They thought I was gone. So anyway, my nurses was all black people. Tell me, you cannot love a person that has a skin like ours.
Right.
I
Amen.
love those girls. I love that one of them was a doctor. She stayed with me all the time in my room. And
I went down to
almost
see.
died the next morning, and they
I
brought
went
me.
down there to see her, and I went in and was visiting with her a little while. And this is after she'd gotten a little better and was coming out of this. And she said to me, after she was better, she said, "Well, I don't think they're doing anything for me. I'm just going to go home."
But those nurses were just wonderful after they
Yes.
found out that I knew the Lord.
Don't you think it's easy to love this person? How
After
many,
they
do you
found that-
think those nurses' lives were changed and impacted by this wonderful lady? I promise you,
How
every one
precious
of those
God.
nurses will never forget this woman.
They was coming in there, getting on these spread.
They
Is
were
that
all
right?
set, yeah, they prayed for me. And then when I left that day, they were 7 or 8 or 8, probably almost all that came in and helped me. They were sitting on my bed.
My goodness.
And they had taken the thing out of my arm, and it was squirting blood out of my arm. And I got the sheets before they came in. I got the sheets off the bed because I said, "Well, this is awful. I'm not going to lay in my own blood."
She's cleaning
So,
up the room for
I
them.
took all the sheets off and threw them on the floor because they told me not to walk by myself. So anyway, it's always something to laugh about, but it's true. And I told the girls when they came in and they were sitting on the side, I didn't have no sheet on the bed. You know, there was just a pad or whatever was under the sheets. And
I bet if there'd been a washing machine and dryer nearby, she'd have done the laundry. Guarantee you.
but you know, it's been such a back to what the Lord told me when I was 8.
That he received you.
And it was hard because when he receives you, you got to wait. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
You have to wait. When things happen,
Have to wait on God.
you have to wait. And I had to learn that.
Is
Through
there
my life, it's really been hard. We have farms and we had to work hard to pay
Yeah.
for them.
You've been one of the hardest working ladies. That,
That's why
all
my
of your
hands
life.
looks like this. And I had 2 gifts. I've graduated to a cane, and I have a new finger
A new
because
finger
of my
now.
arthritis in my hand.
Yeah.
And I used the same stuff. I didn't want to take the arthritis medicine. I had no telling how much medication I'm taking. But anyway, I used my medicine that I have on my knee for, it does something once in a while, where I've had a light stroke. So anyway.
just add that to the list.
But anyway,
A stroke or two.
I
or
try to
three
be
and
happy
cancer.
all the time. I haven't been a perfect person. Nobody's perfect. But I worked, these farms, whenever my husband went out the door, I was behind him. And everything he did, I was behind him.
I stopped by in the late summer by her house, just went over there to see her. And I thought I'll knock on the door and she'll hobble to the door and we'll spend a little time visiting. No one came to the door. I walked around back and she's chopping out weeds.
100 degrees.
At 100 degrees around the house. And she's taking that beautiful blonde hair, which she said is fake. But anyway, it's all her hair.
Well,
it's just the
anyway,
color.
my hair had grown down to here, and it was the color I was when I was young.
Ah.
It was kind of a light brown.
But she's worked hard all of her life.
All the time. We worked on those farms. We raised 20 acres tobacco and paid for that, the farms, and then we built the house one year. And my husband was in service, and he had let his mother have all of his money that he got in service and mailed it home. I mean, just had it sent to her. And so Miss Beverly Marvin was like another mother and father to me. And when we built our house and we bought our farm across the river over in Owen County, my father-in-law, we had bought a little tractor and we owed, I think, $1,700. And our crop was destroyed.
By what?
Hail.
Hail.
Tore it up. So my husband had just put in an application at General Electric. So they had called Miss Beverly's house because we didn't have a phone over in Owen County. And so he had gone to work. And Marvin, my father-in-law, came over and walked down the hill. It's, you know, we didn't have it fixed at that time. And he had a paper in his hand. And he said, Ida, when Russell comes home, tell him he won't have to worry about the payment, because he stopped at the bank and paid it all.
That was your father-in-law?
That's my father-in-law. So they were so good to us, but the money that he sent home schooled his 3 sisters, and 2 of them in college and 1 was in grade school and high school. But he took care of these children. And when we was trying to pay for the farm across the river, Miss Beverly came over and she said, I'm going to give you all payment on this farm. And she gave us,
Brother said all our money back.
yeah,
Wars.
yeah,
Sisters.
yeah, but from the war that we had in
They have been givers, I can tell you.
it's just the
Their
precious.
life has been a life of giving and
And it's
service.
been hard, you know.
How many of you feel like you know Miss Ida Beverly a little better now?
It's been wonderful, and I just think, look at all the people.
Look
you
at
know,
all them
and
wonderful-
the Lord has put this in my heart, the love. I have learned to love people through my life, and not because of me. It's because the Lord has placed it in
The
my
Lord
life.
in you.
It's just placed it in here, and it's easy for me to care for people. It's so easy.
Doreen wanted to
I'm
know
fr-
how many
I'm-
brothers and sisters you had.
I had 1 sister, she died. And I lost my older brother, which he and I was really close. He broke his hip and infection got him
Yeah.
and he died. And then I have Frank, my younger brother, and Junior, my
Still living.
still living,
Still living.
2 of my brothers.
And she will be 88.
87,
May.
87.
No, you're already 87. You're going to be 88
Oh,
in
well,
May. We're
whatever.
counting on you being here for a birthday. Give her a hand. Oh, my goodness.
It's been hard for me. You know, I haven't been before people for a long time.
Now, we're going to help you over here to this step.